Okay, let's come out. And this rocky substrate provides habitat for a lot of organisms. When you look at the bathymetry surrounding this one rocky outcrop, there's really nothing for a long ways, just the sedimented bottom type. Pilot, this is Watch 1.
Go ahead.
There was something that we just passed that looked, I don't know, like a bar or something.
Immediately
It's
below
kind
to
of straight
the right.
down, maybe.
Just came into view.
Yeah, that right there. That's probably just more debris, I guess.
Come on in, Roland.
More debris. Okay, thanks.
Okay, coming up.
At least there were some interesting things on that debris. Scott France pointed out tubulariid hydroids, and Tom Hansknecht said that there was a trochid snail on that bar or whatever that debris was. Some kind of line here, maybe a long line.
I'd be there at 85 degrees, pilot.
Can we get a beauty shot of that guy?
Yep, bringing it into the lights. Come on in.
Wow, what a
Good lasers
beautiful
coming
fish.
up.
He's having none of it.
He's trying to hide from us. They have lots of good hiding places in these rocks.
Squid.
Oh, and there goes a squid.
Pilot, at this point, there's also interest just to push south, just within tether range, just in case there's anything else there worth looking at. So we could do a small push forward, and then you could just come back to the ridge and we can continue along it. That's great, thank you.
are pretty much directly below me. I'll follow you around to the south as you push out.
And a little more trash.
I'm at a heading of 180.
More tall hydroids. And it looks like we're heading into a more sedimented area.
I have you there at 65 degrees. Plenty of tether.
Several
That sounds
fishing
great.
line items.
Copy.
This looks like an octocoral on this rock.
Take a look at the coral and also the white thing under the ledge. Or maybe the anemone.
Just come on in, Roland. Go ahead.
This looks like the one that we saw previously, which was a plexurid, possibly Thessia.
Go ahead.
A little too far away to pull out the details.
And a hermit crab behind that, and some hydroids. Actually, I'm not sure that those are hydroids. I don't know if anybody in the chat room could identify these guys that have like a ring of tentacles on a long stalk.
Video's clear.
It's coming out.
And yeah, Pyatt, that was a good enough push. So if you want, you can make your way back to the ridge. I don't see anything visually, and nothing is poking up on sonar. Thank you for the detour.
I will follow you back to the port until I hit 245.
So we moved on to the flat area that was the far side of the mound that we've been exploring, just to make sure we didn't miss anything and see what was there. And now we'll head back to the rocky area. And those hydroids we were just looking at are tubellaria hydroids.
Should I swing to port or starboard?
Well, you don't want to put a turn in your 6-8.
So I should swing to port. So I had been moving to starboard to get to this point.
And this looks like a whole pile of line here.
Yeah, I think a pilot just kind of goes forward and a little west.
Yeah.
That should line you all up well.
And that's a big pile of debris. I don't know if it's some kind of a tarp or a rug or something mixed in there with the line. We're seeing a lot more debris here than we've seen in other places. We're also closer to shore than we've been the whole expedition so far. And then we're also on the edge of the continental shelf, so this could be, some of this debris might be kind of pushed into this area from the currents and then piling up when it hits either this rocky substrate or falling over the back of it. Or the line there, it might be from getting snagged on these rocks.
Couple nice of those yellow purple fish bottom right.
There's another piece of rope on the bottom left. Yeah, I would imagine that this is close enough to shore that people might come out and fish on this. If anybody knows that for a fact, that would be very interesting. Oh, and here's a squid.
Go ahead. I think if we injured it, it would look a lot worse. Yeah. Yeah, he's not looking too alive there.
Yeah, he doesn't look so good.
Unlike this fella to the right and down. Can we get the lights on this guy down below? Just tilt down.
Hold on the lights. Alright, go ahead and roll it.
Drifting away.
Yep.
So this Antheus.
Hey, Mike Becchione here.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm even interested in dead squids.
Alright, you can put the lights
Do you think
on.
that one's dead?
Oh, yeah. I'm certain
You can
of
put
it.
the lights
But
on.
Okay.
I was hoping,
Coming on with the fog lights.
I don't know how much of a lag I've got on my video. I was hoping if you're close enough that you could zoom in real tight as possible on the skin of the body.
Okay. Did you hear that, pilots?
And the reason I'm asking that is probably another one of those short fin squids in the genus Ilex, which we've seen a bunch of.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But there is another possibility, and that possibility has bumps on its mantle. It's called a scaled squid.
Okay.
And so I would just like to see whether we could see any scales on of the body part of the squid.
Pilots, did you hear that request for another look at the squid head?
Yes.
Thanks very much.
Alright, come out.
Yeah, not the head, but the body part.
Oh, body part.
Yeah, the mantle.
Guy's lost one of his streamers.
Oh, there he is just above the fish. The Antheus.
Yeah, my screen has still got the Antheus on it right now.
Yes.
A little bit of a delay.
We're just now starting to push into the squid.
Okay, I'm watching. In addition to trying to identify it, there's a workshop this fall about the importance of cephalopods in biogeochemical cycles. And,
oh, wow.
Sometimes you see a lot of dead squids. Actually, Okeanos came across some in his very first dive after it came over to this side of the world. And there were a lot of dead ilex, dead and dying ilex. When squids spawn, for a lot of species, after they've spawned, they die and sink down to the bottom and contribute a lot of carbon to the bottom.
So how high in the water column do these short fin squid go? I mean, are they usually more in the benthos or?
No, they swim up into the water mostly during the night. They hang out close to the bottom or sitting on the bottom like we saw yesterday. And now that I've got a tight zoom on this, I'm pretty sure it is a short fin squid.
Short fin.
Rather than one of those scaled squids.
Does it look like the chromatophores are still a little active?
Yeah, maybe. They're a little bit expanded. It looks like it's recently dead.
Yeah.
It hasn't been scavenged yet.
It's still alive. The chromatophores are still moving.
Yeah, I mean, you can see there's like pulses of light, like the chromatophores are still somewhat working.
Continue going back towards
I'm sure
the
it's
tail.
at least on its way out, but...
It's actually probably dead. There's a lot of nervous twitching that goes on in a dead squid for a little while after it has died. Their nervous system, even though they got large brains, that a lot of nervous functions happen sort of independently.
That's interesting.
It's coming out.
In fact, you can.
I lost my toe.
You can cut the head off of a squid, and it'll still both halves of the body will still do things.
Wow.
That's not to get too graphic about it. There's a
Still
dish
the fog lights.
that they serve in
Jumping
Japan
off
where
of the
they
lights.
cut the head off and then pour soy sauce over it, and it makes the arms wave around.
That sounds like a very lively dinner.
So I would call it a recently dead short-finned squid.
Okay.
I just wonder if we're going to see some more of them around. Maybe there's some spawning event or something like that going on.
Well, we'll keep our eyes peeled.
Okay, so will I, but I'm going to hang up the telephone.
Okay, thanks for calling, Mike.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
It's a new fish for today. Lower one.
I don't know if we've had a good zoom on this score-painted rockfish on the right there.
Still lasers.
Lasers coming off.
Come on in.
Oh, he's coming at us. I think that's the most close-up I've ever been to one of these fish.
Something's happened to his left eye.
Wow. I wonder if that little bump on his bottom lip is normal, or if that's an injury, parasite.
I wonder if it's a sensory feature. The way his skin is so mottled in color, it's pretty.
Let's get a full view.
It's a great video.
I'll go tight to the top spine.
Yeah, so we see there are a lot of fish in the deep sea, and especially when you get to some kind of structure like this, and they would be kind of top predators in this environment. And all the other organisms, especially the little invertebrates, probably have to really watch their backs with these guys around.
Videos.
Check them out.
And again, this kind of structure would concentrate the smaller organisms that they would feed on. So compared to wide open sediment, there'd be a lot more food in this kind of habitat. And there's another anthias on the upper left. And it's Anthias woodsii is the genus and species of that fish, and the species name is, it was named after Lauren P. Woods, who provided specimens for the study of the American Anthinae. And these guys are reef associated and can be found from 256 to 421 meters, which
little
is
tiny sea star.
Oh yeah, there's a sea star on the left side of the screen. And yeah, so no wonder why we haven't seen them yet so far, because their max depth is about 420 meters. So this is the first time we've been in that depth range for this expedition.
Yep. Yes. I'll come back over to that.
It's a beautiful view of the anemones.
It is. It's so pretty with the black background like that.
All right, come on in.
Wow, that's a tiny sea
Looks
star.
like it's lost a couple limbs and is regrowing them.
You can go as tight as you can.
Maybe
just
Nolan
wait for
Barrett
the
can
dust.
help us. Maybe that's another Circeaster.
Just gonna keep coming.
Excellent.
That one's seen some hard times. Lost 3 of
Yeah.
its limbs. It's interesting. It normally would have 5 rays, and
Right.
it's growing a 6th one.
It's trying to catch up.
2 for 1.
There's feather duster worm to the right of the starfish, sea star.
There was a round object to the right. That's that orange thing.
It's a weird looking rock. I guess it's just less sedimented.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
Copa, do you like viewing D2 from this, or do you
We
prefer
collected
to be
a slab of this
behind it and
rock
sideways?
earlier, and it's likely just crustal kind of rock.
Keep a view of the ridge.
We
from
call
where I
it
am.
crust. It's
So you
not
like, okay,
true
you just keep doing this.
oceanic or continental crust, if you
How
know
are you rolling?
your
I mean, would it
geology,
be
but it's
safer for me
just
to be
the
on
crusted rock at the
Not
surface
really.
where
It's all below you.
it's
mostly preference.
the grains have been bound together from
Tether looks fine.
precipitation
Let's
of
go fine here.
oxides, iron oxides. See a close-up of it here.
Oh, look at
nice
that beautiful
snail. Beautiful.
Yeah, gastropod. Or is it a hermit crab in there now? Oh no, maybe it's still alive.
It's hard to tell. That tube worm's in the front of it.
It's a
I
hermit
think
crab.
I see a crab, yeah.
Yeah, wow, it's a tiny little crab for such a huge house. And a little squat lobster.
Be difficult to go in
Behind.
reverse.
Yeah.
He has to just go forward.
Or if he starts down this rock, he might just tumble for a long
Come out.
ways. So Leslie, does it surprise you that this habitat with the multi-beam and backscatter data that we had?
Let's get this in the back.
Well, you know, in lieu of some large metal structure like a ship, which was what we were hoping it would be, the high intensity of the backscatter
20 meters.
is
think
just
so.
likely a function
You
of,
think a 245
excuse me, the sound bouncing off of the hard
yeah, I'm
rock
happy with that.
instead of the nearby
Yes,
soft sediments.
Copy that.
Copy.
One of the things about backscatter is it's all on a relative scale. If you use a certain sonar here and you cross this area, you get
I see it.
an intensity scale of the strength of the acoustic return to the ship. Another ship passes by, you know, even using the same levels from the ship, you're going to get a different record. But it's a relative scale, so we don't really talk about how many decibels were returned. It's really the range of decibel returns. And so we get bright areas and dark areas, high reflectivity and low low reflection or low return of the signal, meaning that it's either been absorbed and or scattered. So now that we are ground truthing the backscatter record, we're likely going to suggest that it was a signal just bouncing off this hard substrate that we didn't see anywhere else in the area. As soon as we moved off this ledge, it started to get covered with a sediment drape again.
That looks like a...
Hey, this is Chris Ma.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good. I just saw that you patiently stopped and took a look at that tiny multi-rayed sea star, and I thought I would chime in and give you guys a hand if I could.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Hope I'm not interrupting.
No, please do.
Yeah, so you guys are really shallow, which makes this one kind of, it threw me for a minute. But I think that is a strange vociferous starfish called Stephanosterius albula. It's strange because this is, I think, the southern extent of its range. So when you notice that there are multiple arms, that's typical for this species because it's vociferous. It undergoes reproduction asexually. It can literally just walk apart from itself and create two individuals that are clones of the original. This occurs widely, so it's present up along the entire East Coast and actually cuts across over the boreal north and is actually found in the North Pacific as well. So I think a few years ago I heard people were reporting this from this area before. So this is probably, I don't know if it was published or not, but this is definitely kind of the southern extent of its range, one thinks. But I've never seen it alive in its habitat at this depth before, and I'm not sure what else it could be, frankly. So, but you know, it's not something that looks like anything else. So
what was that name again?
It's very odd. Stephanosterius with a PH, so Stephansterias, and then albula, like albumin, like an egg.
Huh. Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's what I said. So that's it for now, and I'll let you get back to it because it looks like you're in a fairly interesting area. But I'll chime in obviously the next time you see something. I'm fastidiously watching, and I saw one sea star earlier, but I didn't get a chance to look at a close-up of it. So perhaps another time.
Okay, well, we'll hope we're going to see more. Thanks so much for joining us.
I look forward to it. It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Is that a group of anemones?
I think I also saw a big octocoral down slope a tiny bit after we get done looking here. Larger anyway.
I thought Chris was calling us shallow.
Come on in.
Yeah, that one black-belly rosefish is just wrapped around that rock.
I know. I thought it was an eel at first.
Are those zoanthids? Yep, a clump of zoanthids, and it looks like there's a little Eumutida picta right in the middle there. Wow, look at that beautiful shot of the anemone. They have orange lipstick on.
They certainly do.
Yeah, it's coming out. With the current in the absolute worst direction rolling for beauty shots.
Now that we're
nice shot of the Venus flytrap morphology.
Where we're going through.
Yeah, so that's something that I learned on this expedition. I thought that Venus flytrap was the name of an actual genus and species, and I forget who it was that corrected us and said that that's just a morph, or a way that a lot of different anemones can behave, and or a posture they can make. And another can.
Pushing past the skids.
Seems like somebody missed their recycling center by quite a bit.
Yeah.
Pilots, I think it was lower than this that the big white anemone or octocoral was.
Oh yeah, that's right. Let's see if I can find it.
Ooh. Oh wow!
It's more line.
Is that a hose?
Power cable.
Power cable.
Yeah, it looks like one of those 3-wired housing cables.
It's a neat view of all the anemones.
I think we went past it.
Yeah, we might be past it.
I'm gonna back up and see if I can find it. It should stand out pretty.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
Prominently. There it is.
Wow, that's the biggest one we've seen so far.
Start off with lasers.
Actually, when you were at lunch, we passed over one on the top, so we might want to go look back there again. We didn't have a chance to zoom in on it.
Okay, lasers clear.
Lasers coming off.
Go ahead in. You can turn on the fog lights.
Video fog lights coming on. No?
Very similar to what we've been seeing before on this dive, but this is a much larger individual. I'm not sure if this is what we've been debating is either Swiftia or Unicella, or I think that someone said Thessia.
I can drop them.
Not sure if that was what they were referring to, if this is the same thing or not.
Coming off. No.
Too much.
That is a horseshoe crab shell right there. Come on in, Roland.
Oh, wow, it sure is. Horseshoe crab shell.
Probably from a molting.
Now has a
just
squat lobster on it.
These are very common along our coastline. I don't know what their depth range is. They're very, some of these molted shell pieces are very light, so it could have been carried offshore. But they may well also inhabit the sandy substrate. I don't know.
Coming off.
All right, pilots ready for another 20-meter move?
Copy that.
Great. I'm just going to keep the same 245, 20 meters.
Sounds good.
Another can, another 2, 3 more cans.
A pillow.
Gosh.
Sandbag.
That one.
Those eyes, or is that aluminum?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Pretty much right now. Looks green.
Aluminum.
To the right of the yellow cable.
It's aluminum.
Another horseshoe crab.
Another horseshoe crab shell upper right with lasers.
There's another horseshoe crab shell. Carapace.
Go ahead in.
The pencil urchin. Finding some shade from our lights.
Alright, let's get lasers.
Lasers coming on. Lasers are on.
Yeah, these are small.
Right, coming up.
Coming off.
Only about the size of your hand.
You could down low that
so
crab
it's
with his
about this
arms up
time
will
of
be
year
in the
that they
backlight.
move in to shallow waters and reproduce, right?
At the full moon, yeah.
Yeah, he's behind the rock too much.
Yep.
Starting to stretch out a little pellet, but we should have a move in, so I'll be catching up here shortly.
So we haven't seen
Yep,
very
she's
much change in the diversity, it seems, except for an occasional octocoral. But
And
it
here's
seems
another
like
one.
a few dominant species, and it even coming up the flanks of this very steep incline that you see now pictured. But all of these anemones and same crabs and same fish. It's another. Is that a scorpion fish? Did you say the large one? What is that?
Yeah. Well, ooh, wow.
We see lots of
The
fish
conger,
here.
the conger just went
Yep.
after the anthias.
The anthias common name is swallowtail bass. I'll remember that. I won't remember the anthias, but I'll try. I have written it down.
Pilots, if we could make sure we get another zoom of the other colony of octocoral that's a little bit down to the right at some point.
Where did it go?
Yeah, it's right in the lower part of the screen now, I think.
You like lasers back on?
It's filled off for a second. I see the line.
Copy.
Yeah, we have to be very careful with all this line and debris that's down here that we don't get snagged in it.
And we're currently at a depth of 332 meters. I think this is the shallowest we've been on this expedition.
Go ahead in.
Okay.
Is there any interest in collection of
Yeah,
this?
I think there might be. I'm just asking in the chat room now. We don't seem to have an exact positive ID on it yet, and it is characteristic of this habitat. I think it's the only octocoral we've seen. We've seen 3 or 4 of them at least, maybe 5.
Would seem like a good reason to take a snip of it.
It's come wide.
Where we take this? Do we have time
That's
to
all you
peer
need,
where
right?
Just a little,
Around.
yeah,
Yeah.
one little
Can we
branch.
get lasers?
Lasers coming on.
Sitting on Lophelia.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Lasers are on.
I don't want to go over by that line, Roland. If I can avoid it.
Okay.
It's interesting. We're seeing Lophelia. It's just here and there, but we've seen maybe
It's coming on
3
the
or
Lophelia.
4 clumps of it. Maybe it's just starting a comeback here.
And those are the tubulareid hydroids. And a Eumunida picta sitting on top of the Lophelia. Very small one.
Alright, let's come out. Bowl wide, please.
So do we want to take a sample here?
I think it would be a good idea to take just a little, one branch of this octocoral if it's feasible. And if this place doesn't look good, we can look for another, but. Yep, there's definitely a consensus to try to sample this octocoral.
We have hydraulics up.
You are ramped up and ready to go.
All bio boxes are empty.
Copy that. Pilot, do you have a preference?
Let's go starboard.
Copy that. Do you want me to take Maze use in the right monitor?
Yeah, if you want.
No, if you don't mind taking a view at Sirius while I'm doing this.
You got it.
Thank you. I have control of your mini Zeus pilot.
So I'm just going to try to take a snip off the top here. Watch lead.
That's great. We only need like one branch if possible, so. And Scott France pointed out if it's a plexurid, it might need cutting. Great.
It's a little haircut.
Okay. Coming out with the drawer.
Stand by on the drawer.
Copy that.
I think we're going to hit that.
Yeah, we might run into that.
We're definitely going to run into that rock.
Okay. Geez, you probably could have picked up one of those fish if you wanted to. They weren't moving at all. Okay, on your command.
Yeah, hold off. Just going to.
They haven't put it in yet.
Here.
Oh, to get the tray out. That I thought he meant he was going to hit the rock. Right.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, drawer's coming out.
He's still holding on to that sample, though. There we go.
Drawer is fully out. Following you around with Mini Zeus. I don't believe I can get a better angle.
No, you could.
Okay, I saw the sample go into the starboard outer.
Just make sure there's none stuck.
I do not see anything in your jaws.
Yeah, sometimes they, at least the bamboos will produce some mucus. And they like to hold on to you. You can close jaw.
Closing.
That was great, pilot. Could you tell us anything about how that broke compared to other samples that you've taken? We're consulting here about that might help us idea it, if it was easy to break or whether it was something that you think definitely needed cutting.
I think it definitely needed cutting.
Needed cutting. Okay,
yeah.
That might make it more like a plexurid.
Yeah, it was. I didn't get the sense that it was brittle.
Didn't get the sense it was brittle. Okay.
That it broke. I definitely had to snip it.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay. Switching back to Sirius.
Go for it.
And Mazus is yours.
Yeah. So you see what I did there?
Yeah. As far as coming away from it.
I came up, turned my back to the current, so it creates a nice little pocket.
Yeah. So the sample wouldn't blow up.
I don't think it would have, but because I was coming up anyway. Went into auto XY, auto heading, auto depth. And when there's a current, the auto XY holds really well.
Gotcha.
So like I've been stationary here. If there's not a lot of current, what you'll see is it'll drift maybe a meter or two
back and forth
in different directions and oscillate a bit.
But where it has a constant force pushing
You can see
against
how
it,
those
it works
slabs
better.
are flat lying on the left side of your view.
Then I pulled up enough so that if I started to drift there,
literally
and we had the
drape
out,
the edge
I would
where
have
they've
enough
broken
time
off
to
and started to fall down that very
put
steep
the arm
slope.
down and get back
to
in
either
the middle.
just stow it, you know, if I'm not drifting too fast, or get the arm out of the way, close the drawer, and try to set up again.
Gotcha.
So you're going to have to do that on samples where you're on a cliff, where there's a lot of current, where you can't set down. That's sort of the procedure there. All right, let's get this fish for you rolling.
Okay.
Kill the lasers.
Coming off.
That's a beautiful color.
Yeah, it sure is. They're definitely one of my favorites.
And the anemones are the type that we saw. Maybe we've noticed them today. I hadn't seen them. But the had the pale pink and then the coral color stripes on them.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit of water between us and him. That sort of kills the.
Yeah, the one thing I was going to say about the Anthias, the fish, the yellow and pink fish, is that they're considered tropical. So this is probably pretty close to their northern range limit. Although I'm not an ichthyologist. I just play one on deep sea TV. With a lot of help from my friends.
The fog lights do anything to illuminate underneath that rock?
Let's try.
Okay.